Welcome to News West 9's West Texas View with Johnny Lou Avery.
Welcome to our program today. We're so glad to have you here because we're going to be talking about a real hidden gem in our West Texas area. We have two guests here to talk about the Circle 6 Baptist Camp. And that's really a misnomer. It's operated by the Baptists, but it's open to everybody. And we're going to talk about all the services and the mission of that camp and all of the things that are available for people of all ages and for special events and everything. So listen up. I want to introduce to you first Brian Colbath, who is the Executive Director of the camp, and also Danny Gearheart, who is the Recreation and Guest Services Director. And it's such a pleasure to have both of you here to talk about this. I've been to Circle 6 Ranch, and I love it, and the setting is so beautiful. And so before we talk about that, though, I want you to talk a little bit about yourselves. So let's start with you, Brian. Tell us a little bit about you and how you ended up at Circle 6.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I want to say thank you for having us here today. It's an honor. I grew up in Austin, Texas. You know, everybody knows where that's at. It's kind of Central Texas, the hill country. Dripping Springs is actually where I grew up, just outside of Austin.
Oh, pretty place.
And so you got trees and nice greenery and lakes everywhere. But I started in camp ministry in my sophomore year of college. I was going to East Texas Baptist University in Marshall, Texas, and I came across the camp director of Highland Lakes Baptist Camp down in Austin, and started out as a summer staffer that year and worked my tail off. That was the hardest work I've ever had to do, and I kept telling myself I'd never do this again. This is crazy. So the next summer came around, he called me up and asked me if I wanted to do it again, and I said, sure, why not? Okay. And same thing. It was after that second summer, again, I was like, what am I doing? We're working crazy hours every day. And
18 hours a day.
As a college student, I was like, man, I could be doing so much other stuff right now, but I just felt that that's where I was supposed to be, and after that,
you became hooked on it, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm telling you, when I've gone to camp several times as camp counselor, and you think, oh my goodness, this is going to drive me crazy, and then all of a sudden by the end of the week you're saying, I love this bedlam.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and I went to camp twice as a camper there at Highland Lakes, and so that's kind of where I started. And after I graduated from East Texas Baptist University, it took me a while to figure out what my degree was going to be. It started off, I wanted to be a youth minister, and then I wanted to do missions, and that's what my degree is in now. I've got a degree in religion with emphasis on missions, and I went to Ghana, Africa for a little while on some mission trips, and to Mexico for mission trips, but I just didn't feel like that's where I was supposed to be, and so after I graduated from ETBU, I went back to Highland Lakes for a year, and that's where I met my wife. We got engaged right after my third summer there at Highland Lakes, and so I came back, we got married at camp, and from there we just kind of felt like it was time to get our fresh start, and she grew up here in Midland, and she was a summer staffer at Circle 6 Ranch back in 2000 and 2001, and so that was kind of our connection. She hadn't really talked to anybody up here or at Circle 6 since then, and the day I told the director at Highland Lakes that I was leaving, probably 3 days later, the board president from up here called her just to check up on her, and I came out here and had a few interviews and started work December 1st, 2009 as the maintenance director out here.
Talk about divine guidance.
Yes, ma'am. And it's funny because, like I said, I grew up in Austin, and then I went to East Texas Baptist University out in Marshall, which is East Texas.
Which is heavy timber.
Yeah, you got trees and water everywhere.
It's not the rolling hills country of Austin.
Yes, ma'am.
So you've been in all three kinds of terrain.
I told my wife when we were moving out here, when we got to Brady, because she told me how flat it was. I looked around in Brady, and I was like, so is this how flat it's going to be out there? And she looked at me and said, "You have no idea." So
she didn't tell you there was a town out here named No Trees.
Yes, ma'am. No, she did not tell me that. But we enjoy it. I mean, every part of Texas has its own beauty, and we love the people out here. We love the sunsets, and just finally starting to get used to it.
That is,
So,
you are exactly right. There is nothing like a West Texas sunset.
yes, ma'am.
Or sunrise.
Yes,
Either
ma'am.
one of them is
Yes,
just
ma'am.
wonderful. Okay, Danny, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I started out in East Texas, so West Texas is new to me. And I started when I was in high school as well, just like Brian did. I started at a camp there called Trinity Pines, about an hour north of Houston, in a little town near Huntsville called Trinity. And I worked there for the last 10 years. In that time, I went to Sam Houston State University, and my wife and I both got our degrees there. And we got married and have 2 kids and 1 on the way. And so we just have been there I lived there for the last 22 years. That was my hometown, and we were just kind of excited for a new adventure. And so I had met Brian at some different conferences and things like that, and I was excited to come be a part of this camp for a lot of reasons. I guess one personal reason would have been Brian and Kelly are kind of the same stage of life as we are, and they're young and raising young children, and that was really important to us.
Yeah.
And so we decided to.
Because you have your own compound, your own colony
We
out
do.
there.
Yes, our kids don't realize that not every kid has their own gigantic playground and their own gigantic swimming pool and concession stand, and they don't realize that they're the only ones that have that. And it's a real safe place to raise our family, and we're really blessed to be able to do that. And when we kind of similar story to what Brian was talking about when he came out here, I came from the piney woods, and so lots of gigantic pine trees. And when we came out here, it was dark when I got here for my interview, and woke
It
up.
was planned that way.
It might have been.
Yes, ma'am.
It might have been. We woke up the next morning, and my wife said, "Oh, they do have some trees," because we were thinking there weren't going to be any trees. And my wife said, "Well, they do have some trees," and we said, "Those aren't trees. Those are just big sticks
Scrub
with
brush.
little sticks on top." So I've really grown to love it out here. I kind of go back to East Texas, and I get a little bit of claustrophobic with all the trees
No,
everywhere.
that's true.
And I like to be able to see everything. And some people say, "See what?" But I like to be able to see everything.
And to see the sky all
It's
the time.
beautiful.
When you're in tree country like East Texas, sometimes you're so deep in the forest that you can't see the sky.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
But also the good clean air and all of the things that it's a great place to raise children.
Yes, ma'am.
And the Stanton area is a great place. One of the things that we need to say is, where is the camp?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we are currently located 6 miles north of Stanton on Highway 137. If you type it in on GPS, it takes you up towards Lamesa. That's way too far. So we're just off I-20, head north on 137, 6 miles.
Easy
north.
access.
Yes,
Easy
we're,
access.
We're right off the highway. You'll see us, all of our tall buildings and stuff. So.
And one of the things about this camp, even though I announced that it was the Circle 6 Ranch Baptist Camp, it's what's considered an open camp. And so they have, you have always had this mission of having events and camps from other churches and other things. We're going to have to take a break right now. We'll be back in just a minute and continue this conversation with Brian and Danny. Join us then.